Hello and welcome to another edition of Commando Gaming. We're going to do something a little different today, something new for the channel, just to get a little diverse um, and also broaden our uh, services that we can provide for our customers. Specifically, I'm going to provide you my spoiler review for Avengers Endgame. Um, those of you that know me know that I'm a huge MCU person. I've probably watched all of the movies. I'm not exaggerating. I probably watched each one. I mean, even the ones that I didn't love, like Thor 2, I've probably even seen the ones that I didn't love at least 5 or 6 times, and I've probably seen the ones that I love, like Infinity War, Winter Soldier, the original Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, probably 10 or 20 times each. So um, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on everything MCU, but I think I have a really good grasp of the content. Plus, I was a big comic book fan in the past, and I read the original Infinity Gauntlet when I was a kid. So this whole saga really touched base to me. So I just wanted to give some spoiler-free commentary on the movie. After the weekend, I'm probably going to break down my thoughts on the movie in detail and go over some specific plot points for discussion. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go over the film in general. One of the things I really tried to do before this movie, and it's really hard, is I avoided anything spoiler related. Um, like most of the commentators on YouTube that I've seen and most of the hardcore fans, I enjoyed checking out the theories and trying to break down the content and try to figure everything that could be going on in this movie up until about 10 days before the movie when they had that supposed leak of footage. I haven't seen that footage, so I don't know how it correlates to the final film. Probably not completely spoils everything. But once that leak came out, I pretty much told myself, you know what? We're going to just tune out everything on the internet, decompress, focus on some other things, and come back and watch the movie with a fresh set of eyes. So um, that's really what I did. I was so excited. Half hour before the movie, I still had no idea what to expect. Of course, I had some theories. I've seen some theories that turned out to be true to a certain extent. But I got to tell you, even if you think you know what's going to happen in this movie, you do not know what's going to happen in this movie. I mean, there are some general elements, and I'm not going to spoil it. There are some general elements that are on theory channels that turned out to be true to a more or less extent. But there were so many ways that they took this story, from how they handled character development to how they handled the action. Totally different than what you expect. Um, you know, what my best way of summarizing this is you're going to go into the movie with about 2 hours of character development, plot, and story, and there's going to be about 3 hours of, or sorry, about an hour running. I need to work on my math. Apparently, an hour of what I would call true superhero action. So, um, and they do a really good balance of giving you time with every single character. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything about any particular character. We'll handle this in another video. But, I feel like they spent a little time with all of the main characters in the film. Um, all the characters that you see here in the poster, you're going to get a fair amount of time with, except for a few minor people in this poster. I'm not going to spoil anything, but generally speaking, everybody in this poster has a chance to give you some character development, some time to get to know them better, to experience everything, how Infinity War happened to them, how they've developed since then, um, how their character has developed from beginning to the end, to the end game. And also, there's so many references to past movies, so many Easter eggs, so many things you'll enjoy. And one of the things that all the other people's reviews bring out is the fact that you're going to feel a range of emotions that you're not going to believe from this movie. If you are really into the MCU, you're going to be laughing hilariously at times, you're going to be melancholy, you're going to be shocked, you're going to get drama, you're going to get surprise. Um, there's like at no point in this movie did I, number one, know how it was going to end. Was I sitting there like, oh, we're just running out the clock till the end of the movie? Um, and even though it's a 3 hour movie, it feels so fast. Like, I was like, because there are certain parts in the movie, and I will talk about this very briefly. It's not spoilery in any way, okay? So, but there are a few brief moments because people have asked me when they can go to the bathroom in this movie. There are a few brief moments where you can. So, what I'm going to tell you is really your one window if you want to take a bathroom break. And I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there's a scene where they're having a meal, and that is when you need, and it's about an hour and 5 minutes into the movie, depending on how many previews you. So from the start of the movie, not counting previews, to this scene is about an hour and 5 minutes. When you see that scene, if you really have to go to the bathroom. Now, I didn't do it because there was a lot of stuff, if you're an MCU fan right there, that you wouldn't want to miss. But if you have to go, that's the time to go. So that's all I'm going to say plot wise. So again, this movie ended in an amazing way. It handled the characters perfectly. Um, it gave you everything you wanted out of this movie and so much more. And the biggest thing, and I can tell you, and I spent hours theorizing and looking at hair on people, whether it's Captain America's beard or whether it's Black Widow's hair color, or Ronan's slash Hawkeye's hair. Um, you know, this whole movie, I walked in not knowing what was going to happen. And throughout the whole movie, I had no idea what was going to happen because they did such a great job of twists and turns and plot points and surprises and setbacks and triumphs throughout the whole movie that you're never going to know what it's going to be. And a lot of people are kind of comparing it to Return of the Jedi. I'm actually old enough that I went through seeing Return of the Jedi live, and it was the same kind of theory about what's going to happen in this movie, what's going to happen in this movie, except of course we were doing it in coffee shops and playgrounds instead of on the internet. But everybody was kind of theorizing, and I got to say, Return of the Jedi, for the most part, you kind of walked into the movie figuring out what was going to happen and how it was going to happen, generally speaking. There were obviously some surprises in Return of the Jedi, and this is not a review of Return of the Jedi, but I'm just using it as a correlation. But in this movie, if you walk in, unless you watch spoilers or you saw that leaked footage, you are not going to know what's going to happen unless someone told you. And that's something I want to send a shout out to people. If you've seen this movie, please, I know you're excited about it. I know it was a great movie. You want to talk about it. You want to tell your friends that haven't seen it how awesome it is, but don't ruin it for them. There are so many moments in this movie that you're only going to get once. You know, I'm probably going to see this movie 3 or 4 times over the next couple days. Once I do that, I'm going to do a full spoilery summary and discussion. But I gotta tell you, don't ruin it for anybody. And if you haven't seen this movie yet and somebody starts trying to tell you about it, just tell them, please be quiet. Because, or, definitely don't search out things on the internet that's going to tell you what happens in this movie before you see it. Because there are moments in this movie that are not going to have the same impact if you know what's coming. Seeing it fresh without spoilers is definitely the best way to go. So, long story short, I think this was a great culmination of the first 22 films. There's also plenty of foreshadowing about what's going to happen in the future. I'm not going to tell you about it. You're going to see it in the movie. But, the MCU is going to be strong and really good after this. I hope the Russos continue to do this work because they did an almost a flawless job on this movie. So I've seen a lot of people talk about where their rankings are for these movies um, after seeing this movie. So I'm going to jump in and do that right now. So I'm going to go from probably five to four here, or five to number one here. So, just off the top of my head, number five for me is Iron Man. I love the original Iron Man movie. Obviously, it was the start of this whole thing, but there were some flaws in that movie, and the CGI could have been better for its time, and the villain probably wasn't the best villain in my opinion in Iron Man, but it's still a great movie. So it's got to be in the top five. You know. Then for me, number four would definitely be Winter Soldier. I loved Winter Soldier, everything about it. It really made me embrace Captain America and Black Widow's characters, and Winter Soldier was a great protagonist in that movie. Um, then there was uh, Guardians of the Galaxy, which I absolutely loved. It's still one of my all-time favorites. Then I would go with Infinity War as my second favorite. Love that movie. It's a totally different movie than Endgame. So if you think Endgame is just Infinity War Part 2, you're completely wrong. But I still love Infinity War as my top two movie. Um, and then number one, I've got to say, is now Endgame. Endgame was a great movie on so many levels, and probably an all-time masterpiece when it comes to superhero movies. Um, you know, the storytelling, the emotions, you can't beat it. So I would have to say that's number one on my list. And then it's kind of tough because I do love Civil War as well, and I do of course love Black Panther, but if I have to narrow it down to top five, that's probably where I would go. Um, and this was a very enjoyable movie for me. Again, I'm probably going to see it 4 or 5 times in the next week, and people who are casual fans are like, "What? You're crazy. Why are you going to see the movie so many times?" There is so much in this movie that I know, you know, uh, somebody a famous true statement is you only retain about 10% of the information that you um, see with regard to a book or a movie or anything that you're watching or experiencing. The first time you do it, you probably only retain 10 to 20%. So I know the more times I see this movie, the more I'm going to see the depth and the beauty and the Easter eggs. So that's why I'm going to go see it several times before I do my spoiler review because I want to make sure I get it right. So that's just a quick summary of Avengers Endgame, spoiler free. I hope you enjoyed the feedback. Go out and see this movie as quickly as possible, because the more time that passes, the harder it's going to be not to have it ruined for you. And you really need to see this movie with a fresh set of eyes the first time you see it, without any preconceived notions about what you're going to get. Um, the less you know going into this movie, I know it's counterintuitive to some MCU fans, but the less you know about this movie before you see it, the better. So go check it out. And after the weekend, we'll do a full spoiler discussion about the movie, the characters, the plot points, um, and we'll really take a detailed look at this movie after I've seen it 3 or 4 more times. So I hope you enjoyed this new addition to our channel on Commando Gaming. I know it's a little different from what we typically do, and we're going to get back to the video gaming. Don't you worry. But some people are really excited about this movie, so I wanted to give you my thoughts on how this movie came out without giving you any spoilers, and we'll come back with some more spoiler filled information after the weekend, because I really want everyone to have a good chance to see this without spoiled eyes. So we'll talk to you soon on Commando Gaming.